We started months ago. The number was 500 million. Where are we at this point?
I'm not sure we're going to get to 500 million. I think 400 million is realistic, though not guaranteed.
Hello, Blue Jays fans. Welcome to East Coast Blue Jays. I'm your host, Patrick. So, Kyle Tucker has quietly become one of the most complete players in baseball. Elite defense, consistent power, and clutch hitting year after year. Wouldn't you want a guy like this in your lineup? Where would you put him? Well, he is an outfielder. You can probably put him in the right field, left field. What are you going to do with Tony Taters? As far as David Schneider, Joey Liperfido, well, they might be position players that you can possibly trade for. But is he really worth $400 million? That kind of contract would put him among the highest paid players in the baseball history. Along with, Mr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's just recently signed a 14-year contract worth $500 million. While Tucker's production justifies a massive deal, his value depends on how long he can maintain it, his power and consistency into his 30s. For a team like the Blue Jays, it's a huge gamble. But if he keeps producing like a top 10 hitter, it might just pay off. Well, there's some news out in the MLB world that Bob Nightengale from USA Today saying several MLB general managers believe that 3 teams are in the hunt, or I should say frontrunners, to sign Kyle Tucker this offseason. Wouldn't that be nice? And who are these 3 teams? Of course, you probably know them, the Los Angeles Dodgers, New York Yankees, and your Toronto Blue Jays. Wouldn't he be nice in the second spot in the lineup in front of Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette? Well, we don't know what the story with Bo Bichette, but right now, Bob Nightengale said that there's many MLB general managers that are saying that the Toronto Blue Jays, the New York Yankees, and the Dodgers are front runners in getting a top elite outfielder, Kyle Tucker. So the MLB.com adds that under the radar, teams to watch for is Baltimore Orioles. Given Tucker's past connection with O's executive Mike Elias, who drafted him in Houston. So, yes, so the Baltimore Orioles are under the radar. They could possibly get Kyle Tucker since they don't have a huge payroll right now. The Dodgers do, the Jays do, but the Yankees do. But if there's a team, if the Blue Jays do go out and get Kyle Tucker, it just makes us put her up on the list on who's better odds of winning the World Series next year. But I definitely hope the Blue Jays do make an effort, and it definitely will cost the Blue Jays. So Bob Nightengale of the USA Today continues saying that the Toronto Blue Jays generated over $50 million over the 2025 World Series run that they had, which is amazing. And he continues saying the windfall that could play a major role in their off-season plans between ticket sales, merchandise, broadcast revenue, and postseason bonuses. Toronto's deep playoff push significantly boosted the team's financial flexibility. Nightengale continues saying that the organization intends to invest the money directly back into the roster. Yeah, you heard it. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to take that $50 million, maybe not all of it, but they're going to put the majority of it into the roster and make this Toronto Blue Jays team even better. With Kyle Tucker, top free agent this offseason, the Toronto Blue Jays are all in to get a guy like this. So the Blue Jays view Tucker as a potential cornerstone bat who could strengthen the lineup for years to come with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., especially with uncertainty surrounding Bo Bichette long-term future. With no postseason earnings and ownership support, Toronto may be better positioned than ever to compete for a superstar like free agent. So yes, Bob Nightengale continues saying the Blue Jays earned $50 million in the postseason. They're going to throw a lot of that money into the roster to make this team even better than they are now. And the uncertainty with Bo Bichette, we don't know what's going to happen with Bo, even if he wants to stay. He said he wanted to stay, but we don't know. But we can't really wait for Bo Bichette and what he decides. So why not get a guy like Kyle Tucker? His great defense, his elite top 10 hitter in the league. So why not get a guy like that? Yes, it's probably going to cost a lot of money, but if we want to win some World Series here in Toronto, go get him. Hell yeah. All right. On a high note, the skipper of your Toronto Blue Jays, John Schneider, has been named a finalist for the 2025 American League Manager of the Year. I knew there's 3 of them right now, and I hope he gets it. Well deserved. And it's supposed to be today. Tonight at 7 p.m. Atlantic time, they're supposed to be announcing who's going to be the final winner of the American League Manager of the Year. So the 3 finalists for the American League Manager of the Year is, of course, John Schneider. He went 94 and 68 for the season. First in the American League East. And then the Cleveland Guardians, Steven, he went 88 and 74. First in the American League Central. And Dan Wilson from the Seattle Mariners going 90 and 72. First in the American League West. Capping off a remarkable turnaround season for the Toronto Blue Jays after finishing last in the American League East last year. Schneider guided the team to a 94-win campaign and a World Series championship. Almost a World Series title. Was this that close? Earning a widespread praise across baseball, his leadership transformed the clubhouse culture, boosted team chemistry, and helped the offense jump from 671 runs in 2024 to 798 in 2025. Analysts credit Schneider's improved communication and strategic decision making the Blue Jays surge to where they went from. So the organization has already picked up his 2026 option. So the Blue Jays have signed Schneider for another year and possibly long-term extension, and is reportedly working on a longer-term extension, like I just said. Whether he wins the award or not, Schneider's name is now firmly in the conversation among the league's top managers, a reflection on how far Toronto has come under his direction. So yeah, John Schneider, he struggled the last couple of years to find his footing, but it really showed how much of a leader he is, how much of a manager, great speaker he is. He did a phenomenal job this year to get the Blue Jays almost to a World Series title. It's 32 years, so. But he did a great job this year, and I hope he does it. I know he got a lot of crap from a lot of us online over the last couple of years, and beginning of this year too. But he really showed that he can hold his own, and he can bring the Toronto Blue Jays back into the postseason again. So I hope he gets it.
Well, they've been willing to do a lot in the past. They tried hard for Ohtani and Soto. They might have been the runners-up in or close to it on both guys. They just went to the Game 7 of the World Series, which means they know they're close, and they also made a lot of money. And they have some obvious needs and desires. They're going to be very involved either in trying to keep Bo Bichette or find a replacement. They need help in both their rotation and the bullpen. And by the way, we talked about Kyle Tucker an awful lot here. You know whose style Kyle Tucker fits perfectly? Defense, put the ball in play, some power. He fits the Blue Jays perfectly. And so, therefore, I expect the Toronto Blue Jays to be very active in all markets.
Yeah, so the Toronto Blue Jays, as you know, last year, we were all in on Shohei Ohtani a few years ago. Then we were all in on Juan Soto last year. We ended up going to Game 7. So we were this close, and we made a lot of money. And certainly, we have enough money to go all in to get a guy like Kyle Tucker. Needs that we need rotation help. We need some more bullpen arms. If Bo Bichette doesn't come back, we certainly need a replacement for him. But like Mr. Guy from the Insider there, he says, or Sherman from the Insider, he said he expects the Toronto Blue Jays to go all on this guy. So he wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays would get a guy like him. So do we really have a chance to get a guy like Kyle Tucker? I think so. A tweet by Jesse on the X. He said the Blue Jays' priority this winter will be adding pitching, of course. But I do think there's a potential to add a high-impact outfielder in the mix. Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, or Trent Grisham make more sense, especially if we don't re-sign Bo. Well, as far as Cody, I wouldn't go after Cody. I don't, I can make some motion. I don't care for Cody. Trent, he's okay. But if there's a guy that I would definitely want to go out and get another outfielder, it would definitely be Kyle Tucker for sure. If we don't sign Ball, why not? Go all in on Kyle Tucker. So yes, again, a tweet by Sleeper Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are on the list of teams, general managers across the league expect Kyle Tucker to potentially sign with. You know who they are: Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Source by Bob Nightengale. There's a great opportunity here for the Jays to sign him. If we don't sign Bo, we can go after Kyle. So the Blue Jays names are out in the off-season again after going after multiple arms the last couple years. Soto, Ohtani, Corbin Burns, Roki Sasaki. But I'm just glad the Toronto Blue Jays are still keeping their pocketbook open after having a tremendous, amazing postseason, making a huge profit, over $50 million, to bump up, to make their roster even better. But yeah, but just Kyle Tucker's, as you can tell, his stats here, his contact, his running speed, his defense, his plate appearance, everything is just off the chart. He's one of the top 10 hitters in the league right now. As long as he can stay healthy and help this team out, why not? Let's sign this guy. So how do you guys feel? Do you think we should sign a guy like Kyle Tucker? Are we just dreaming again like we've done the last couple of years? But we did sign Vladdy. But if Bo does not re-sign with the Toronto Blue Jays, I think we should go all in on Kyle Tucker. He definitely improved this team tremendously. Thank you all for coming in here to East Coast Blue Jays. If you haven't did it already, smash that like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment below. Do you think the Toronto Blue Jays are just a pawn here for all the other teams to sign a guy like Kyle Tucker? Or does the Blue Jays really have a chance here to sign this guy? If Bulbasaur don't sign with the Jays, he might sign. But leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about Kyle Tucker. Do you think it's an expensive move? He is possibly could be asking $400 to $500 in a long contract. The Blue Jays did make a lot of money last year, over $50 million on merchandise. But the Blue Jays definitely had a great postseason. They made themselves a lot of money to put more money into this roster, and they said it themselves. They're possibly going to be going after pitchers, bullpen arms, rotation, and possibly outfield, and sign up Bo Bichette. Still lots of work to do, but they were this close to winning. And I know Ross Atkins are going to go out, and Mark Chappell are going to go out and find some more great players to make this team better. But thank you all again for coming in. Have yourself a great night. And like always, let's go Blue Jays.